Imagine waking up one morning to breaking news. Two nuclear superpowers on the brink of a direct clash. The headlines scream of escalation, and the airwaves are thick with panic. If this feels like a scene out of a dystopian movie, think again. This is the reality lurking beneath the surface of our modern world, a cold, calculated game of power, influence, and survival between two titans, Russia and the United States. For decades, the United States has symbolized global dominance, a nation revered for its military prowess, technological innovation, and cultural influence. On the other hand, Russia, a nation with centuries of imperial history, stands as a resilient rival, wielding its might through strategy and unpredictability. But here's the question that keeps geopolitical analysts awake at night. What happens when these two giants collide, not just in proxy wars or economic sanctions, but in a full-scale confrontation? Let that sink in for a moment. To understand this great power conflict, we have to peel back the layers of history. Let's start with the Cold War, a time when the world teetered on the edge of nuclear annihilation. The ideological divide between capitalism and communism set the stage for a relentless struggle for influence. But the end of the Cold War didn't bring the peace many hoped for. Instead, it created a vacuum, a momentary calm before new storms emerged. Is history doomed to repeat itself, or are we entering uncharted waters? Fast forward to today. The battlefield has evolved. No longer confined to military skirmishes or space races, the conflict has expanded into cyber warfare, misinformation campaigns, and economic maneuvers. Remember that massive hack in 2020 that exposed vulnerabilities in critical U.S. infrastructure? Cyber experts traced it back to a Russian group. Now, imagine what a full-scale cyber war could look like. Terrifying, isn't it? But let's pause for a second. Are we overthinking this? Maybe it's all just political theater, a grand spectacle to keep citizens distracted. Or maybe it's a deadly serious game where one wrong move could change the course of history forever. What do you think? Is it paranoia, or is the threat more real than we dare admit? The stakes couldn't be higher. Economically, Russia and the US are locked in a complex dance. Western sanctions aim to cripple Russia's economy, while Russia weaponizes its vast energy resources to exert pressure on Europe and beyond. Think about it. What happens when a nation's survival depends on breaking the other? History has shown us that desperation breeds unpredictability, and unpredictability breeds chaos. Then there's the human cost. Wars, even cold ones, aren't fought in boardrooms or war rooms alone. They're felt in the lives of everyday people. Picture this. A cyber attack that shuts down power grids in the dead of winter, or an economic collapse that leaves millions unemployed. The ripple effects of great power conflicts don't just end at borders. They crash through homes, schools, and hospitals. Sobering, isn't it? But what about the global stage? Alliances are shifting, with nations like China, India, and others playing pivotal roles. The US and Russia are no longer the only players in this high-stakes game. What if the real question isn't who will win, but who will lose the least in a world teetering on the edge of multipolar chaos? That's a cliffhanger worth pondering. And here's where things get even stranger. The US and Russia have, at times, found themselves on the same side, fighting against terrorism, addressing nuclear non-proliferation, and even collaborating in space exploration. Isn't it ironic? Two nations capable of destroying each other also possess the potential to save the world. It's a paradox that's as fascinating as it is unsettling. As we approach the end of this journey, ask yourself, are we, as individuals, mere spectators in this drama, or do we have a role to play? The choices our leaders make are shaped by the voices of their citizens. So, where do you stand? Inaction, after all, is a choice too. And in a conflict of this magnitude, every choice counts. The tension between Russia and the US isn't just a geopolitical story, it's a human one. It's about survival, ambition, and the fragile threads that hold civilization together. And as we watch this story unfold, let's remember, History isn't written by the victors alone. It's written by those who dare to ask the tough questions, to face the uncomfortable truths, and to envision a future where conflict isn't the only option. But will we get there? Only time will tell.